Hello. So I'm going to do a quick video just to kind of review from what we went over in class in person on Wednesday the 9th. If you were unable to be there, you can use this video to kind of get up to speed on what we talked about. So a couple of things here with your equipment. So you will all get an easel. You will get a taboret table or a pallet table. You'll all get brushes. The brushes that I use are Wonder Whites. They're nylon, really high quality brush. You'll get 2, 3, 4 of them depending on your needs. And this brush you'll use for the entire semester. So you will have to be clean it daily, and I will talk about that in just a minute. You'll also have a container, either a metal container or a glass container of terpenoid, which is a turpentine substitute. You'll have on your pallet table, you're going to want to wrap foil around it in the beginning. And you're going to tear the foil out beyond the size of the table, and then you're going to wrap it around the table so that it doesn't jostle around when you go to paint. And we can talk more about that on our first few days of actually painting. I put small amounts of paint down here just because for the demo I didn't want to waste the paint, but I've got cadmium yellow, alizarin crimson, cadmium red, ultramarine blue, and white. Now these are the colors that I use, and if you're doing your portrait, let's say, regardless of the color of your skin or the lighting, you're going to be using these colors. There are an additional 2 or 3 blues that sort of lend themselves more to blue-green, phthalocyanine blue, cerulean blue, and cobalt blue. And then these are about our only 2 reds that we have. We also have some secondary colors like a permanent green, a dioxazine purple, and a cadmium orange, which is just a combination of cadmium red and yellow. For our painting up here, okay, and this was the grid that I made in the previous video, and I didn't finish it all the way, but I have enough to do a couple squares here. These are the 2 squares that I did on Wednesday the 9th. And I'll show you, talk a little bit about that too. But our goal here is okay, you all have a canvas that's filled with 1-inch squares or a grid. And what you're doing is you can start anywhere you want on the canvas. Let's say you paint this a slate blue, okay? Let's say you paint a square right here, slate blue. As you move in any direction, left, right, up, down, or diagonally, you are to change the tint of that particular color 10 to 20%. So if you go like from a really bright blue to or if you go from a dark blue to a bright yellow, that would be beyond that 10 to 20%. So we don't want that. We also don't want all the squares to kind of look the same, because then you're not going, you're under 10%. So keep that in mind, and we can review that further. But if you do want to get started painting, you can literally start right now. It's ready for painting. So let me just show you a little bit about mixing the colors. We want to get in the habit of not just taking the colors directly out of the tube and applying them to the canvas. It doesn't mean that you can't ever do that, but for the purposes of this painting, we want to get comfortable mixing colors. So here I'm taking ultramarine blue, which is inherently very dark, and I'm adding some white to kind of lighten it up a bit, okay? Then the complement of blue, and because I don't want to use blue straight out of the tube, the complement of blue is orange. So I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow and a small amount of cadmium red, and I'm just going to sort of knock that color down a little bit. So I'm going to take away the intensity, take away the blueness, and get into that kind of more of a drab blue, okay? Now this probably will work with what I've got up here. It's a little bit lighter, okay? Now when we paint, we want to eliminate the white of the canvas. So we want to use opaque paint to eliminate the white of the canvas. Some of you are going to be shakier than others. Some of you are going to be really neat and clean, others a little bit messier. That's fine. As long as you're just painting each tile individually, you should be in good shape, okay? Notice in my what I've painted so far that the colors are opaque. If we come back down here to the palette, you'll notice as I was going, I added a little terpenoid to my mix, just a small amount. You don't want it to become watery. You want it about like soft butter, okay? So that when you go to paint it on the canvas, it is covering completely. Now, it is true that some of your yellows and alizarin crimsons are inherently a little bit more transparent, and they may need multiple coats or thicker layers. But for the most part, the paint that we are using is fairly opaque, okay? Now, what I want to do is, since I have a color right here that I've started my session with, now I have to affect it by 10 to 20%. So let's say that I want to go ahead and just keep going with that orange. I'll bring a little more red in, a little more yellow. Maybe I overshot it a little bit with the orange, so I'm going to bring some blue back in here. And then a little bit of white because it got dark. If it starts to get too sticky and not pliable enough, I would want to add just a small amount of turpentine to alter that. Okay, I'm going to add a little alizarin crimson just to give a little bit more in that violet range. Now I can even hold up my color to what I've done already to make sure that I'm not painting something the exact same color. This is a slightly darker violet from what I did the other day. We want to make sure that we go right up to the tiles that we painted so that they're touching. Okay, in the event that you mess up a little bit and you kind of run in from one square into the other, or accidents happen, what you're going to do is you're going to take a paper towel and you will wipe off your brush. I'm going to go grab the blue that I used before, and I'm going to come in and just make that repair. Now, this is wet on wet, but if it were dry, then I could just paint right over it directly. So I can make that repair right there. So you notice here that all four of these colors are very similar. So they're in that 10 to 20% range, probably closer to 10%. You can make changes in intensity, hue, or tone. Those are the three kind of categories that you can use to make that 10 to 20% change, okay? So hopefully this helps getting you going. And when you're finished each day, just leave your paints out on the table. They will not dry. Some of the thinner paint that you've manipulated and worked with, if you give it 2 or 3 days, this may be too dry to continue to work with. So you would have to start over. When we wash our brush, we want to go ahead and clean the brush out with our paper towel as much as we can. Use Turpenoid, okay, to further clean that brush. But don't stop there. You then want to go ahead and use the green soap at the sink in the painting room to clean the Turpenoid out of your brush. And you can do that by putting some of the soap in the palm of your hand, running it around, and you'll see that paint come out, and then use soap and water to finish your cleaning, okay? So hopefully that at least can get you started. For those of you that aren't able to be in person, hopefully this will help you out. Depending on if you're in quarantine and you need additional materials or other accommodations made so that you can begin working, please let me know, and we will do our best to get you to where you can at least start the paintings. Thank you, and I'll see everybody Monday and Wednesday of next week. Take care.